Hello, I'm Peter Vaughan, and today I'm at the Caravan and Motorhome Club's Lower Wensleydale site with a Carthago C-tourer T 148H. I have to say I've really enjoyed driving this Mercedes. The 170 horse engine does seem as if they're slightly fitter horses than Fiat's 178 bhp, the top engine that they do in the Ducato. This just seems a bit perkier. Perhaps it's the gearing, I don't know. It just seems a bit livelier. It picks up really well. 9-speed gearbox, of course, is super smooth. That's a real delight. But when you first get in, there are one or two things just to get used to. There's no sort of conventional, even automatic type gear stick. You select drive and park and so on with this little lever. It looks like something to work the windscreen wipers with. There's no handbrake, of course. That's another switch on the dash just down to the right here. And you've got all the controls, usual controls for the phone and radio and so on the steering wheel, which is a nice chunky, but not too big. You don't feel like you're driving a bus in this. It's a nice small wheel, gives you good control. And I have to say, the combination of the front wheel drive Sprinter and the Alco chassis, you get a nice ride. It's not as crashy as most Fiats. It doesn't lean and wallow either. It feels very stable on the road. Coming up yesterday on the A1, it was very comfortable, comfortable at a motorway cruise. It's just a surprisingly pleasurable vehicle to drive. It's quiet, and of course this MBUX display gives you a great sat nav. It gives you the reversing camera when you need to manoeuvre, and then you've got things like the traffic sign recognition, so you can see the speed limit in front of you here. If I'd got the sat nav on, it would give me the next direction appear in this central display as well. So a bit of modernity and just all-round competence, really. Yeah, you can see why the Merc costs that bit more. Now, this is one of Carthago's best-selling models in the UK. In fact, their third bestseller and their best-selling low-profile model. Company is perhaps better known for its A-classes here, but this one actually isn't available as an A-class. You can only have it as a low-profile. You can have it with or without a drop-down bed and on Fiat or Mercedes chassis. Both of those come with an Alco rear chassis extension. But perhaps part of the appeal of this van is that Mercedes star on the front. This one certainly drove really well on the way over from York yesterday. It's available, in theory, as a 3.5-ton motorhome, but this 7.62 metre vehicle, which costs in base form just under 80 grand, also had £33,000 worth of extras on it. Now, Carthago tell me that that is typical for a C-tourer purchase in the UK. So think of this not as a 3.5-ton 80 grand motorhome, but a 4.5-ton 110,000 pound motorhome. For that, you get a very, very luxurious vehicle built to Carthago's usual high standards. And crucially, it still has over a ton of payload. You'll need all that payload because of this garage. 1.18 metres high, 1.24 metres across, and capable of carrying 350 kilos. Now, the checker plate flooring and the needle felt on the walls, they're upgrades, but as standard you do get things like this flashlight, and these storage pockets on the door are really useful. Second garage door is another option, but that's one you won't want to be without. You'll get bikes in here, all your outdoor gear. We've got some comfy chairs strapped to the back wall in the garage. It's a magnificent space for that long-term tour. Of course, being a Carthago, there's a super deep double floor as well, with access hatches behind the cab on both sides. Depth in here is up to 550mm, although it goes right the way across the vehicle where it reduces to about 200mm. And there's an extra deep section just inside the door that you can access from inside the vehicle. We'll take a look at that later. Of course, it's illuminated, heated. Well, what more could you want? Before we go inside, there's just a few more details I should tell you about. Look at the way this bottom part of the rear panel is designed so that if you have a little bump, you reverse into a post or something, you don't have to replace the whole back panel. I like that. And also, you get a star just to remind you that you spent that extra money. Typically Carthago, look at the way the roof curves into the side panels. Looks much neater than the usual square box meeting of sidewall and roof. The awning, of course, 4.5 metre awning here, that's another option, but probably one that everybody would have. Again, another option is this premium habitation door with 2-point locking and central locking from the remote control that also does the cab doors. What more can I tell you? Well, I think it's really rather a handsome beast for a motorhome of this type. Sidewalls are aluminium, the roof and underside are GRP. It's got a 10-year water ingress warranty and it does feel substantially made. No creaks and groans as you go along the road. The single most expensive option on this vehicle is one you certainly won't want to be without, and that's the chassis pack, because it gives you the cab air conditioning, Tempmatic Mercedes call it, cruise control, higher output alternator, an electric handbrake, so nothing to get in the way when you spin the front seats round, a higher output alternator, a 92-litre fuel tank, tilting front seats, and automatic windscreen wipers. There's probably a few bits I've forgotten too, but all that lot comes to £4,735. Now on top of that, you've got the 9-speed automatic gearbox, that's about £2,400, and the upgraded engine from 143 up to 170 horsepower, that is £1,800 odd. And then you've got the alloy wheels, they're just over £1,000. It soon adds up. But you can see one option you won't want to be without is that chassis upgrade. You can go to 4.2 tonne, but when 4.5 tonne upgrade, 4,500 kilos, is only £435 extra cost, well, why not? Because you're going to need it. This is a vehicle you're going to load up, go on a long-term tour, you're going to want that payload. While we're on the subject of storage, I just thought I'd remove some of the carpets and show you the internal access to the double floor. So you've got this big locker just inside the door, that's about 430mm deep, and you've also got your boiler, freshwater and wastewater drains conveniently inboard in there. Just to the rear of that is a shallower locker, that's about 220mm deep, smaller compartment. This big one is often referred to, I think, as the wine cellar. If you're going to carry a lot of wine or beer or whatever, keep it low down, keep the weight low down, good for weight distribution, that's great. And finally, just before you get to the rear bedroom, there's another hatch that gives you internal cleaning maintenance access to your water tanks. One of the great features of the Merc over the Fiat is the cab environment, but again, you'll have to pay for it. The MBUX display is part of the media package too, but even that only gives you a 7-inch display. If you want to go up to the 10.2-inch display as here, that's a further £490 on top of the media package, which is £3,795. But that does also include your digital reversing camera and a flat screen 24-inch TV for the lounge area. You've got a nice car-like leather steering wheel, very clear instrumentation. It all works really well. If you're used to a Mercedes car, you will love this. If you're used to having all the safety features too, you can have those on this Sprinter. The Mercedes-Benz driver assistance package costs £2,115 and gives you active distance assistance Distronic, that's adaptive cruise control in any other speak, active braking assistant, active alertness assistant so you don't doze off at the wheel, active lane departure warning, headlight assistant, I think that does your automatic dip beam and so on, road sign assistant which flashes up speed limits and so on, and a tyre inflation pressure sensor. All worthwhile stuff probably if you're spending this much money. Now let's turn our attentions to life on board this Carthago. The lounge up front here is the reason you choose this model over others in the range. It's spacious and very, very comfortable. There's a flat floor right through from the cab right to the steps for the rear beds. You may just have heard the resident peacock in the background there, but if not, it's one of the novelties of this campsite. Anyway, back to the Carthago. This is Davos upholstery, part leather, part fabric. I rather like it. It's another option, as are of course the carpets, which are now back in, covering those hatches into the underfloor storage. The furniture in this van is another option. That's Casablanca world of style in Carthago speak. You get these gloss locker doors and a lighter wood than the standard one. I think it gives it quite a nice fresh feel, and it certainly, the lighter wood certainly does give it a bit more feeling of space inside. Another thing that lightens up the interior is this overcab sunroof that really does give a lot of light into the cab area, and unusually it's pretty much horizontal rather than sweeping down almost to the windscreen. It's quite a different shape in the front here, and also that gives you these spacious lockers around the loop and gives you a lot more storage up front here, which is quite a benefit. Now you get that roof light if you order the drop down bed, which we'll come on to later because this one has that feature. There's a pop-up TV over here that's neatly concealed, but it does mean sitting on this side of the vehicle to watch, and of course that's linked to the satellite dish that we've got on the roof. Captain's chairs spin round very, very easily in this vehicle. No faffing toing and froing, there's no handbrake in the way of course. The table though is a little bit on the large side. It moves easy enough. You've got a foot pedal, usual Carthago thing, put your foot on there and it slides backwards and forwards, it twists, so you can have it that way round if you prefer, but wouldn't it be better if it folded in half so that it didn't feel so big in this space? It is an excellent lounge, bar the size of that table. Not only have you got the TV too, but there's rear speakers built into the cupboards under the drop-down bed. I should also perhaps talk about lighting too, because when you haven't got a roof light over the lounge because of the drop-down bed, then it is important to have plenty of artificial illumination in this area, and there is loads built into the base of the bed. You can turn off the ones over the TV, so that's not distracting when you're watching Neighbours or whatever, but I would have liked the lighting to be dimmable because it is a bit intense at night. Yes, you could just have the mood lighting around the top lockers, but that's not enough to read, and there's no individual reading lights for the evening. What I did like, however, is that you can pull the cab blinds and then also use the curtains to give it a more homely feel. Behind the lounge is the kitchen, and it's great to see that here Carthago seems to be taking the UK market more seriously. Gone is the oven up here in the sky somewhere, and it's now where it should be, below the hob. Set for duplex, combined oven and grill, familiar item, it works well enough. I've just done my toast in it this morning and I didn't manage to burn it, great. Then you've got this 3-burner hob, which is called a Master Gourmet. It comes unbelievably with these cast iron trivets. No sign of weight saving there. There's a reasonable amount of worktop space, and adding to the practicality is that the part of the sink cover removes and slots in to become a useful little shelf. But the really good thing here is storage. You've got 3 extra large drawers, another drawer under the oven with a built-in bin, good top storage as well, and I do like this nice curved feature here. If you pay extra, you can have a coffee machine in there. That's one of the few options that doesn't seem to have been ticked on this vehicle. You don't get Korean worktops, you have to go further up the Carthago range to get those, but I really can't find much else to fault. It's a good kitchen. And another top of the range feature is this 153 litre fridge freezer. Automatic energy selection, of course, and it's the latest type with the doors that go either way. So if you want to get a beer while you're lying in bed, well, you can practically do it if you're sleeping this side without getting out of the duvet. It's quite unusual these days in a motorhome of this class and this size not to have entirely separate shower and toilet compartments on opposite sides of the vehicle just before you get to the bedroom. Instead, Carthago has put the washroom all in one piece on this side, on the off side of the vehicle, just to the rear of the habitation door. It works well enough, as I'll show you in a moment, but it's a shame that they haven't incorporated some way of closing off the back of the vehicle as a sort of changing area and a private bedroom. Now, if you see where the door comes to, surely it could have been quite easily incorporated just to fill that gap here. That would have created a private area for you to come out of the shower, and then the wardrobes at the foot of the bed you could easily get changed in private without having to have all the blinds at the front of the vehicle closed. It's no surprise in a layout like this to find your wardrobes under the foot of the bed. You can either access them from the top with a simple lift up flap, or there's a conventional wardrobe door. What is unusual is that here the hanging depth goes right down into the double floor. So you've got 1.04 metres from the rail to the floor. That's unusually good. On the other side you've got another wardrobe, but here it's got shelves which you can take out if you want to use it as hanging space instead. Equally not unusual is that you've got good access to the single beds with a pair of steps, and then a centre cushion between the two mattresses, which gives you a bit more shoulder space if you want it in bed, or perhaps somewhere to put a tray for your morning coffee. On the other hand, what is unusual is the way that this area can be expanded if you want to increase the depth of this centre section. It's 1.12 metres as standard, but press a button at the side of these steps and pull the steps towards you. Unfortunately, your wardrobe doors are now blocked from the side, but you can still get in from above. Pull this section towards you, and now the centre part of the bed is 1.57 metres long, so you could have a generous transverse double if you wish, or perhaps a child could sleep between you, or just use it as extra space. And because of the way the Carthago has been designed, you've still got use of the steps, which I think is really rather clever. As I said, the washroom works well. I particularly like this moulded basin with plenty of worktop on either side for all your toiletries and so on. There's neat little storage recesses in the wall here, and with rails to stop things falling out as you travel. More storage under the basin and behind me in a mirrored locker. Plus all the usual accessories that sometimes get omitted, things like a towel rail, somewhere to hang wet clothes, a roof vent, good lighting, huge mirrors. And then you'll note that the flooring in here, another option, matches the lounge and living area. It's waterproof too, so you don't have to take it out when you're showering. When you do have a shower, it's a separate shower head, nothing to do with the basin's tap, and these screens, plastic screens, not glass in this van, they just pull round, they rotate round to give you a good size shower cubicle. As we move from bathroom to bedroom, it's worth mentioning the water tank capacities because they're in line with this vehicle's luxury status. 150 litres of fresh water, 140 for waste. And then, just as the lounge area is spacious, so too the bedroom. On this side you have a 2.01 metre long single bed, and on this side 1.86. So really generous size bed on this side. You've got a second TV here, of course an option, but it just pulls out of a locker for ideal viewing from bed. And if you're looking at these top lockers thinking, oh no, you won't be able to sit up in bed as usual, well, not only is there plenty of bedroom lighting, but they've sorted that as well. Just be careful that when you wake up in the morning that you don't forget the lockers are there and bang your head. But if you're lucky enough to have a partner who'll bring you a bacon sandwich, you can just pull up the end of the bed and sit comfortably. The rear bedroom isn't the only sleeping space in this vehicle because, as I mentioned earlier, there's an optional drop-down bed. Just release a seatbelt catch at the front, another seatbelt style catch at the back, diagonally opposite, and I think that's probably why it doesn't rattle and move about on the road as some seem to. Then you don't need a key or anything, but you do need to just lift off the headrest of the rear travel seat. That's the only cushion you need to move. Then press a button, no key needed, down she comes. Now at this point I would normally climb into bed, but unfortunately the ladder supplied with this vehicle was the wrong one. What I can do is tell you the bed's dimensions. It's 1.88 metres long, 1.42 metres wide, but look at what a strange shape it is. It's narrow at the head, narrow at the foot, as little as 1.1 metres at its narrowest, but really wide in the middle, I suppose, where you probably need it most, but it is a slightly odd shape. The good thing is that because of this odd shape, there's no restriction getting in and out of the habitation door. There's no real loss, apart from a tiny bit of this shelf, no real loss of the kitchen space. So, all round, yeah, if you need an extra pair of berths, this is good. And if you do need it, Carthago offer a fifth berth made from the lounge and even an optional fifth travel seat. So what's the verdict on £112,000 worth of Carthago C-tourer? Well, I've really enjoyed my time with it. Who wouldn't? I love the way this Mercedes drives. It feels so good on the road. There's a nice feeling of quality throughout this Carthago, and I like the kitchen with the low mounted oven. I really like the lounge, it's ever so comfortable. And I like the bedroom with one super-sized single bed and that clever sliding step arrangement. Best of all, perhaps, is the huge amount of storage, both in the double floor and in the garage. Remember, 350 kilo weight limit for that garage and over a tonne of payload overall on this 4.5 tonne chassis. What don't I like? Well, that table needs to be made smaller or fold in half or something, or maybe removable. The lighting's a bit fierce in the lounge at night, so some dimmable lighting, some reading lights that are directional, that would be a big improvement. Otherwise, the only other real compromise is the washroom and the lack of a private changing area. But overall, there's a lot to like in this very, very luxurious, very expensive, low-profile motorhome. Hope you've enjoyed the video. More will be coming along soon. And in the meantime, of course, don't forget to like and to subscribe to our channel.